Alrighty, so today, furthering our discussion with part 2 in Beast Gohan. We are almost there, boys. The banners are later on. But we have to talk about some global hijinks, some tomfoolery, some shenanigans, whatever adjective you want to use for what is happening here. Global has decided, they've made the executive decision that the part 1 format with the step-ups and the guaranteed featured step will no longer be needed for part 2 where Beast Gohan is at. So what does this mean for those of you who are not keeping up with the kind of wording of what I'm saying here? The 7-step format that we had during part 1 is not going to be there for part 2. It is going to be 3 multis, you get a free one, you go back to step 1, you repeat the process. And I know for a lot of people that is going to be disappointing as a JP player. This is just how I'm used to the game. And it's not really a major change for me. But again, for the Zero to Hero account, this is a big deal because, you know, losing potential value is never like positive news, right? But what I decided to do was get the perspective from some of you guys who are, you know, primarily global players, maybe endgame vets, beginners, all that fun stuff, right? So I asked, what do you guys think about global going back to the traditional 3+1 with tickets format for part 2 rather than the part 1 step-ups? Now, I think what I got wrong in this specific video, in this specific tweet, again, I was kind of like busy as all this was happening, but I wanted to put out a tweet so I could talk about it later. The tickets, I believe, are just going to be paid. And I know, I'm not recommending you buy them, right? Please don't take it that way. But I don't believe they're going to be going with the banner. So this is going to be very akin to something like a JP anniversary or worldwide or just a dual Dokkan Fest banner where it's 50-50-50 free, 50-50-50 free, 50-50-50 free. That's the vibe I'm getting from this. And that is kind of what the deal with these banners are going to be. It sucks that the discount format with the guaranteed featured is not there, but I wanted to get your guys' thoughts because maybe you could offer some other perspectives that I did not have myself. So let's go ahead and get started. The first kind of comment, I guess we'll kind of save a couple of those. The first one comes from Jordan, and he says the part 1 format was definitely better for players. Of course, it's kind of interesting to see Dokkan so blatantly say, yeah, the part 2 banners are the real hotness. Hotness. I don't know how I like that adjective, or, you know, that word being used to describe what we're talking about here, but sure, the hotness is is changed, right? But I get what he's saying, and I'm sure if you guys are familiar with my streams and stuff like that, if you watch them, I'm live over here on the YouTube channel, by the way. I was like, when people would ask, is like, are the part 1 step ups going to be there? I would always kind of say the same thing, right? Where it's like, I think they're going to be there, and if they're not there, there's a very easy explanation for it, and it's they didn't think people were going to summon on part 1 without them, right? It's blatantly showing their hand, like Jordan said, that like they're playing their hand here, right? Where it's like, we knew you guys weren't going to summon on part 1, so we had to make it juicy. We had to give you guys a reason to summon on these banners, and that is clearly what they were aiming to do. So now we have to live with the result, and now they're showing us that they knew we were not going to summon on part 1 if there was not a reason to do so. And the banners, 100%, if you summoned on part 1, that was 100% validated by the format. Those were extremely well done banners, and you don't need to feel bad for summoning because this isn't for part 2, right? I think that is some of the best value you can get, especially if you are a newer player. Getting a character like Broly, or a character like Broly being obtainable through a guaranteed featured step, and plenty of discounts going around, that is very, very good. So don't feel bad if you summoned on part 1. Don't worry about that. It just sucks that the same format isn't going to be for part 2. So Mish, my editor, shout out to Mish, you know, does the Zero to Hero videos. Strange decision, but makes me think they have something up their sleeve. I hope so. I think there is a chance that they have something up their sleeve, but I don't think that is a guarantee. I don't think this was the best decision. I think it's a decision that makes sense from a, I don't know if I want to say a business standpoint, but you know, clearly we can see the thought process behind it, right? So it's not a confusing decision in my opinion, but it is one that we can be frustrated with, right? So, you know, something up their sleeve. I hope you're right. I appreciate the optimism, and thank you for the comment. Doesn't matter. I will pull regardless. I'm scared to click and see if there's a reply for this, but I'm happy you feel that way. That's how we should all be feeling, right? You're going to get them no matter what the format. So there you go. Guitar Heroist putting in that work. As a JP player, I think these individuals should be grateful that they get anything extra at all. Now, as a JP player, again, I think the problem is I said this right here with tickets, right? That was the problem, and that was my fault. So that is where this comment is deriving from. I think that is a bit of an issue in of its own, but you know, that is not what this video is about. So I think that this comment is kind of invalidated based on the fact that, you know, we saw the way that they thought about this, right? They I feel like I had something and then I like literally just lost it mid-sentence, but like, again, that was my fault for wording it that way. Extra at all is nice, obviously, but I don't believe this one was more of a result of me messing up the tweet. So after experiencing the part 1 banner format versus the 3+1 scam, I'd rather have part 2 be treated like part 1. It doesn't make sense that they reverted to something that's less stones and less value after giving us the best format ever. Still convinces me that Global is being ran by a chimp. This is aggressive. The wording on this one is crazy. This individual, Mr. Sly, is not happy with the way that Global is running things, and understandably so. I think that this is not the best way of going about this, but it's just like, you know, reverting back always sucks because it's like you give us something and then you take it back and you expect like everybody to be happy with it. I think once you kind of the summons get going and stuff like that, you know, someone's gonna pull Beast on their first multi and they're gonna be like, I love this format, it's the best. Or like they're just gonna stop thinking about it, right? But 3+1 scam, like there's no such thing as a scam and just them giving you a free multi, right? Just because you don't pull the character, like the multi was still free. Like after the stones that you spent, right? Like it was still an extra multi for the price of 150. So scam, I think, is a bit aggressive. Does it feel like it's rigged and you never get the character on that free step? Maybe, but obviously it can happen, so it is not a scam. Yeah, part 2 treated like part 1. I think we can all agree on that. Definitely the way to go. All right, there was a little spam in there, but I prefer the part 1 format now. Tori, I would definitely agree with that. I don't think there's anybody, like, objectively speaking, if you prefer the 3+1 format with no tickets, because again, I messed up the tweet. That is on me. But if you prefer, like, I don't think there's a reason to prefer the part 2 or the part 2 format, right? Like there's nothing better about the part 1 format, or the part 2 format, excuse me. There's nothing there, right? It's just like, you know, less stuff. You have to spend, you know, there's not a guaranteed featured step. There's 1 free multi per rotation rather than 2. Not 2, there's always 1, my bad. It's more just the discounted stones, right? And the guaranteed featured. It's like, oh, do you want no discounts, no guaranteed featured, or do you want a guaranteed featured and discounts? It's like, obviously, everyone in their right mind is taking the guaranteed featured and discounts. So, confusing, but definitely prefer the part 1 format. You know, not too much to talk about there. Definitely agree. This one comes from Brady or Ice Fusions. I honestly don't see the point in them giving us a new system for summons like they did in part 1, unless they do this for other part 1 banners in the future. Just kind of weird IMO, but at least we are still getting the free multi after the first 3. Yeah, at least there's a free multi. So there is that, right? But again, it's like, I was literally just talking about this, right? Where it's like, you know, they give us something and then they just take it back immediately, no questions asked. Like, okay, back to normal, guys. Like, yeah, it is disheartening, but again, like he said, hopefully it's something that they bring back in the future. The odds of that being a one-time thing, in my opinion, I don't think that's the way that they operate, but it is possible. We'll see. Yeah, again, this is where I kind of was like, aren't the tickets in the day to download the paying tickets? And I was like, yeah, I think we're only getting 3+1. And then you can see I said, might have been a mistake on my part. 3+1 still exists, however, obviously, right? And then he said the tickets aren't going to be there. I said, yeah, my bad. This one comes from Halvard. To be honest, I do not care. I was dumping stones regardless. Yeah, but it's like, you can say that, but like at the same time, it's like you could have been dumping stones more efficiently and you could have been getting potentially more value out of those stones that you are dumping, right? That's literally the biggest downside to it. No matter what, I feel like everybody watching is summoning all the way anyway, but it's just an unfortunate way that things kind of panned out with that. So I appreciate it, but yeah, against... you know, it sucks. It's like you could have gotten more for dumping your stones. I think that's the biggest thing here. So, prefer the part 1 format. How much value the variant? Yep. I mean, we've all said that, right? Guaranteed featured is good. Got Broly from the guaranteed featured. Yep. So there you go. Someone got it right here. Best of both worlds would have been to get both, but choosing one, I do prefer the 7-step part 1. Yep, for sure. Just help us get more featured units in the envelope. 3+1 plus tickets is certainly valuable and doesn't feel that much more inferior to the 7-step. Yeah, again, I got that part wrong. So that last bit, you know, unless you're paying for the tickets, which again, I'm not recommending, you know, you have to, consider that, right? Like, tickets always help, but again, when they are locked behind a paywall, that can be frustrating. And again, a lot of the same kind of sentiment here where people are just talking about, it's like, yeah, I prefer the Part 1 format, and I definitely agree. To be honest, I was very confused by the change in the format, as the Part 1 format was definitely the better way to go. About the summons, but I'm not as mad as long as we still get tickets. We don't get tickets, I'm sorry, bud. But if we don't, Global will just have the same format as JP, which isn't a bad thing because it's still good. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, this is what we do over here on JP. Like, this is the experience. Like, you know, you want the sync, this is the type of stuff that can happen. Maybe this is like the format that Global players are going to have to get used to, but we shall see. What else do we got in here? Anything else? No, it's a terrible decision. A right buzzkill and is antagonistic to players. Terrible decision, I think, is aggressive, but a decision that we don't agree with, right? You know, I can understand what you're getting at with terrible decision. I just think terrible is a bit aggressive, right? It was just a frustrating decision, I think would be a better way to put it. But right, a buzzkill, no. People are still going crazy and all in for Beast Gohan. But I can understand the thought process there. So, man who screamed 6 months, thumbs down. Yeah, okay, thank you for letting me know. Thank you, Amatsu. Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's fine. The value of the Part 1 step-ups was the same, but Part 2 still has the free multi, plus there's a 77 multi. Yeah, but that's not really the topic at hand here. You know, the 77 multi was going to be there regardless. But yes, the value for Part 1 was obviously way better. Current format for the Part 1 banner is vastly superior. Yep. Let's see. Spoiler, no ticket. Yeah, I got that wrong. Didn't pull a single unit from the guaranteed feature, so I wasn't high on it, but the discounts is a loss, because if Xeno or Rift doesn't proc, I ain't getting them anyway. You never know. You could get lucky. I think it's stupid. That's it. Yeah, I guess that's fair, right? Good luck, everyone. Yep, good luck if you're watching. We have to be glad that they did the step featured in Part 1, so it would be great here, but I also can understand their point. Yep. I said the same thing, where it's like, I can understand the business end of it, where they knew people weren't really going to be summoning on Part 1, and they still wanted people to buy stones and do all that fun stuff. So, I think the step-up summons are better, but this is not all bad. Yep. Doesn't make a single... Okay, yeah, here we go. It doesn't make a single difference, and everyone complaining about it is complaining for no reason. They got their expectations set too high for this, and when it didn't happen, so many of them are throwing tantrums like children. Please don't interpret this as me throwing a tantrum. Clearly, I'm not like sitting here like screaming and punching my monitor or anything like that. But like, the expectation I don't think was set too high. It was just give us, like, they were expecting what we got for Part 1 for Part 2, because you just showed us this, right? Like, in theory, the way they've kind of shown their hands is like, they tend to, like, over the course of the 9 years that this game has existed, right? The hype, the big stuff, the exciting things that bring the players in is in Part 1, right? And it's like, you're going to give us this amazing thing for Part 1, and then the better character for Part 2, you're going to take it away because you consciously know that character is better, and more people are excited for that banner, and so you take away the value, so therefore it is going to be harder to pull the character. That's just like not the best feeling as a consumer, right? Where it's like they're actively making it harder to pull the character. And I don't think that, like, I understand where you're coming from, and I do think it's like, obviously expectations can be high at times, but I don't think this is the proper situation for that, where this is something that's rightfully something to be, like, annoyed with. Now, throwing a tantrum is a completely different thing. Again, I don't think that's indicative of what I've seen in the comments here. Some people are upset, but again, a tantrum I think is a bit aggressive. So there you guys go. If you want to participate in videos like this and give me your thoughts down below about these type of things, go ahead and follow me on Twitter. It is @Vilify. You can see it in the bottom left. I'm Vilify on any social media that I claim to be on. We also, if you want to let me know down below in the comment section as well, what do you think of this change? Let me know down as well. How many stones are you using tonight? Are you all in? Does this format change how you're going to be going about it? And all of that great stuff. So I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you are new so you don't miss out on any of my Dokkan content. And I'll see you all in the next one.